we have Officer Kerry Bradford.
How are you doing? Thank you for having me.
Now, I guess, Kerry, the legal term for you is conservation enforcement officer. I guess, aka in my world, you're game warden.
That's exactly right. You can call me conservation enforcement officer if you feel like saying that whole spiel. But yes, technically we're game wardens. We'll answer to hey, game warden.
I understand. Kerry, first of all, I want to thank you personally, and I want to thank all your fellow officers, and I want to thank the department for all that you do. I know it's many hours and a lot of thankless work that you do, but without y'all and without the department, hunters and fishermen would really be up the creek without a paddle. And we thank you. I know a lot of times you get a hard rap. You know, hunters, we only see you when we think you're after us, but that's not true. And y'all have many hours, and I thank you.
Well, you're very much welcome. We enjoy it. We love our jobs. We enjoy interacting with the public, with the hunters,
right.
Educating folks, and it can get interesting out there.
Well, and I also want to thank you for coming in and being part of Listen to the Eagle. We're a new show here in Alabama to kind of update you and our listeners, to frame it again. My dad started this over 20 years ago in the state of Mississippi to become the fishermen and the hunters to have a voice statewide.
Right.
And we thank you for being a part of it, because we want to educate our listeners and educate the hunters and fishermen out there. So I guess first I'd like to kind of toss it to you and let you kind of tell us anything that you or the department would like to get out there statewide to the hunters and update them on what's coming up. I know turkey season's up on us. So.
Exactly, yeah. Turkey season started Saturday for the adults. Of course, we had a youth season. We encourage parents, uncles, aunts, get your youth out there and let them take advantage of that early youth season.
Absolutely.
Get them involved in the great sport of hunting and fishing as well. But yes, turkey season is in, and those guys, if you know any turkey hunters, they are a passionate group. They love to get out there and chase turkeys, and that comes with a lot of very early mornings. But turkey season is in, and one thing that we would like to encourage people or remind them is that that supplemental feed that is allowable for deer and for hogs it does not count for turkeys. So no supplemental feeding of turkeys during turkey season. And the other thing, just to remember, keep your turkey harvest record on your person when you're out there hunting.
Okay. And those are two things that could be a ticket situation.
Those are two things where a person could end up getting a citation, or what we call a certificate of achievement for the day.
Well, let's remind them one more time. So no supplemental feed.
No supplemental feed. For deer and hogs, they can put supplemental feed out there. It has to be at least 100 yards away and out of line of sight by natural vegetation or terrain, but not so for turkeys.
Okay.
Turkeys range a lot more than deer, and therefore the area definition does not apply. So it's illegal to put bait out there during turkey season.
Okay, and talk about the turkey harvest. There's a report?
Turkey harvest. There is a turkey harvest record.
Okay.
It's if you purchase your hunting license from one of the area stores, it will be attached to the bottom right next to your buck harvest record.
Right.
And just like you have to note the bucks that you harvest, you also have to note the gobblers, the male turkeys that you harvest. No hens, no shooting of hens.
Now, when you say that, do I have to have that on me? If I
have to have that on you.
Oh,
on your person when you hunt. When you harvest a gobbler, you'll write that down and before you remove it from the field.
One more subject I'd like to talk to you about before we go to break, and I hope you'll stay over for another segment with us so we can keep educating our listeners. I know that the advisory board met a couple of weeks ago.
That's correct.
We kind of did a little update on it last week. Kind of tell us a little bit, any kind of updates or anything you're hearing out of that meeting that our listeners really need to pay attention to?
Well, the Conservation Advisory Board is a great opportunity for the hunting public or just for the public to get involved in this process of promulgating rules and regulations and change that comes about yearly.
Mm-hmm.
We've had a great amount of change in the last couple of years. With buck harvest and supplemental feed and extending the season, a lot of change in that area. But this year, the main things that seem to be the point of topics is changing the duck season a little bit.
Really?
to eliminate duck hunting, or to not eliminate, but to prohibit duck hunting after 12 o'clock noon to give birds a chance to rest. And this is going to be in the southernmost Mobile, Tensas management area.
Right.
Another thing is they're talking about allowing dog hunting for hogs also on that management area down there to give hunters an opportunity to impact the hog population.
Yeah, to that point, I am talking to a lot of hunters out there, and everybody's kind of really enjoying this hog hunt.
Yeah.
And I think if you add the element maybe of dogs, it would even be more, because I hear hogs are very smart. You don't think about that, but I hear they are.
Yeah.
And I know they're a problem, and I know we need to try to handle it. So maybe if we can add some elements to make it even more fun for the hunters to be involved in the hog hunting, would be good. So.
Yeah, we like to incorporate, any type of eradication if we can, into allow the recreational hunter to take advantage of that resource out there. Because hogs are they're extremely plentiful. They are a nuisance. They're a detriment to the habitat, but they're fun to hunt.
Yeah,
they really are.
Yeah, they are.
And you can get some dogs out there and get one bayed.
Yeah,
it gets interesting quick.
Well, and then I think there was a little bit they're hoping to maybe tweak the snapper law.
They're looking at tweaking the red snapper. Looking at some of the data, some of the calling. Because last year, if I'm not mistaken, they had to call in their catch before they got to the dog. So they had a call in system, kind of like what we attempted to do with the buck harvest call in. And that kind of gave us some insight into what was actually going on, so that we can better adjust those.
Helps on the biology side of it.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
We try to use good science and our changing of. We don't just throw darts at a board. We try to use.
No, there's actually some science and some.
Exactly. They're reviewing the possibility of limiting the number of hooks per trot line, and some of you folks, hunters, some of you hunters and fishermen may think, what in the world is that about, and why would that be such a hot topic? But what they're talking about is limiting the number of hooks to 100 hooks per trot line. And what that does is, right now, it's an unrestricted number of hooks. So it will create more work for the recreational cat fisherman who wants to put out a number, unlimited number of hooks. Now he's got to string more trot lines. But, our main goal is to protect the resource.
That's right.
And to make sure that it is renewable, that we can continue it so that more folks can enjoy it.
Well, Kerry, sometimes, and look, we're here for Alabama's hunters and fishermen, but we're here to educate them. What I would like for our listeners to understand is the department doesn't just throw darts and decide we're just going to do this because we think it'll be tougher on the fisherman or tougher on the hunter. There's always a reason, and it's usually a biological reason or some type of stat or statistical reason for laws being made.
Right. Yeah, the department's not trying to limit people's fun or their opportunities out there. We encourage
trying to make it better.
Trying to encourage folks to get out there and enjoy hunting and fishing. And
absolutely.
When we see a trend, we have our fisheries section that looks at these trends in area lakes, and a lot of this comes from creel surveys at boat ramps to complaints from people just calling in about a change in availability or catchability of fish, and so we look into these things, and that's one thing that we're really considering is changing up the number of hooks.
Okay. Well, let me do a quick rundown of some hot topics that I would like to be educated on, and I think our listeners need to be too.
I'll do my best.
Number one, it sounds simple, but it's really not. A license holder. When and who and where do you have to be a license holder?
Okay. This is very good. It's a good question. There's a lot of misinformation out there. Typically, if someone is 16 years or older and they're going to hunt in the state of Alabama, they're going to have to get a hunting license. They have to have that hunting license, and at a certain age, they have to have a hunter safety certification.
That's right.
To get that. They can still get a license if they don't have that certification, but on that license, it will say supervised only.
Okay.
Now, if you're 16 to 65, you have to have a license unless
All right, pay attention.
Unless you're on your own property.
And you have to be you have to be on that deed.
If you're the deed holder or the immediate family, a member of the immediate family,
okay.
you do not have to have a hunting license to hunt on your own property.
Okay.
But if you're going to deer hunt or turkey hunt, you have to have a buck harvest record and a turkey harvest record. So even though it's not necessary for you to have that hunting license on your own property, you still are required by law to have that harvest record.
Let me give you a situation. Help me out here.
Okay.
I'm a grown man.
Okay.
My uncle Cecil has invited me over for a dove hunt on his land.
Okay.
Do I have to have a hunting license?
Okay.
He's a relative.
That's a good question. To legally hunt a migratory bird, which is a dove, let's go ahead and start off the things that you have to have.
Sure.
You have to have a plug in your gun.
Right.
To limit the number of shells to 3, or shoot it over and under or side by side.
Okay.
Those don't have to have a plug.
I understand.
You have to have a what we call a HIP stamp, Harvest Information Program. So you have to have that HIP stamp. It's free of charge, but it's information that we collect from your previous season's hunting efforts to see how many birds that you did harvest. So you have to have the HIP stamp, and then here's the kicker. Some game wardens would argue that you're not a part of the immediate family, that you're not husband, wife, father, son, granddaughter, something like that. So
to be safe, I need a license.
To be safe, it'd be best to get a license. Because some game wardens would say, I see Carruth, in the last name, your family. Some game wardens could read it that way, and there's nothing wrong with that. Another game warden or conservation enforcement officer, we're going to use that long term, might look at it and say, well, you're not, this is immediate family in my book, and might issue a citation. So it's just up to the officer judgment, officer discretion.
All right, one more situation. Got invited to a friend's, got an unbelievable deer hunting. He's managed it well, and I've been invited by the deed owner to come on his property and hunt for a deer hunt.
Okay.
Do I have to have a license?
Yes. If it's just a friend and you're going over to his piece of property, he's invited you, then you do have to have the as long as you're 16 to 65, you have to have that hunting license.
Okay. And any other questions that you have on these licenses? Officer Bradford is going to be more than willing for us to reach out to him from time to time. So I invite you to either call in the show, 1-844-EAGLE-99, or email the show or ask us a question on Twitter, and we'll be glad to reach out and get those answered, because we always want to help our listeners be abiding the law. All right, real quick, feeding and baiting. The law in Alabama, I understand you can put out supplemental feed.
Exactly.
But if it's the day of the hunt, talk to me about the technicalities that you're looking for.
Okay. Now, when we talk about supplemental feed, we're referring to white-tailed deer and hogs.
Okay.
You can supplementally feed white-tailed deer and hogs during the hunting season. It has to be out there at least 100 yards away from the hunter, from the stand.
Okay.
And it must be out of line of sight by natural vegetation or terrain. So as long as it meets that criteria, then you're good to go. Yes.
Now, if it's not hunting season, can I continue to feed all year round?
You can. This is the catch-22 that some people don't think about. I'm supplementally feeding my deer, but it's turkey season. So there's a catch. The department issues, through our officers and biologists, will issue a wildlife control permit for folks to go out there who have hogs to supplement or to feed them, actually, and then to hunt them directly over bait to trap them. But that goes out. We don't issue those during turkey season.
I got you.
So baiting of turkeys is something that we definitely want to make sure that people are not doing.
Right,
exactly.
And using the excuse that, well, I'm feeding my deer.
Exactly.
All right.
So, yeah, they can feed except for during turkey season.
Well, another hot subject I want to talk to you about before we get you out of here is high fence and deer farming.
Right.
Again, high fences you can get a permit for in the state of Alabama. Is that correct?
You can.
What's kind of the legal parameters of that?
Well, you have to get an application from the department. There are certain restrictions, and I encourage anybody who's interested in this to go to the department website, outdooralabama.com, and to look up the information. Call your district office. There'll be a contact list to the district office. That'll be your first point of contact. Call the district office, and then from there, get the application, fill it out. The officers will come around and check the high fence to make sure that, there's some people, I guess when it first started, we found that there was a way that deer could get in, but they couldn't get out. So
I understand.
Anyways,
that's not good. Yeah.
It's some interesting situations. And
real quick, 30 seconds. Anything to the state of Alabama hunters and fishermen that you want to update them on before we go to break?
Well, we've got a archery and school state tournament coming up in Montgomery. We'll have over 1,200 shooters from local school, middle schools, and high schools that will be competing for the state championship on April the 10th in Montgomery. We've had 7 regionals so far with over 4,000 shooters from our middle schools and high schools. So it's very exciting for them, and it helps encourage the sport of archery.
So, Kerry Bradford, thank you for being a part of Listen to the Eagle, and thank you for everything you and the department does.